Welcome to Chamber Chat on the Road with Mary Beth Horton. This weekly program is focused on keeping you connected to your community, the place we call home, where we work, play, and raise our families. Featuring updates on economic development, the latest news on businesses moving into our area, networking opportunities, and upcoming community events for you and your family. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoy today's program. Now, here's your host, Haberhsam County Chamber President Mary Beth Horton and her special guest.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Chamber Chat on the Road. This is our first episode of 2021, and I'm excited to be back hitting the streets to meet the people and places that keep Haberhsam happening. Our first stop is the Haberhsam County Courthouse, where staff and volunteers with the Northeast Georgia CASA program spend a good deal of time. CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate, and we're going to learn a little bit more about this amazing program. All right, everybody, I'm joined here in the courtroom with Chuck Taylor, who is Advocacy Coordinator for CASA, and Diane Brown, who's a volunteer for CASA, and they're here to talk about what CASA means for our community. So Chuck, I'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about the mission and vision of CASA.
Well, our mission is to recruit and train volunteer advocates who will be sworn in to the juvenile court to advocate for a child that is in foster care. And all those children are there because of abuse and neglect. And while we often call them volunteers, really that's just a pay scale. They are advocates and they represent the child's best interest. So amongst all of the many facets of a dependency case, which is what brings a child into foster care, they go and they speak to the child and advocate for that child to the judge. They write a report for the judge at every hearing and let that judge know what's going on, all of the details. And Judge Carswell, the juvenile court judge in the Mountain Judicial Circuit, says the CASAs bring the color to a very black and white world.
Oh, wow. All right. So walk us through the day in the life of an advocacy coordinator. What exactly do you do?
We monitor all of the cases and keep up with all of the children that are in, and then we work to get them appointed to an advocate. We also support those volunteer advocates in their advocacy. So we help them prepare their reports. Sometimes we work as a sounding board when they get back from a visit and they want to talk about the case and just have someone to discuss all of the many facets going on.
Well, so Diane, I want to turn it to you now, because as a volunteer, how long have you been a volunteer?
I want to say October is when, or maybe the latter part of September. CASA had been not a burden, but it was something on my heart that I knew was something that was so beneficial to so many lives.
Yeah.
And so in the Northeast Georgian, as a matter of fact, there was an article about volunteering. So that Monday, I think I called, and Chuck called. We conversed, and he told me basically what it was about. So I have my first case.
Wow.
So after training, which I was really surprised at the length of training and the in-depth training that a volunteer goes through. I mean, I guess I had in my mind, okay, I get a case, so I hit the road and I go out there and I just start doing whatever. Well, there's a whole lot more to it than that. And then, seriously, I knew that was not the way it would happen, that I did the training. So I felt like that really prepared me and the other volunteers that were in training with me to be prepared to go out. But you still have a little trepidation, you know, when you make your first call. But so far, it's been a blessing to me. I've learned so much already, even just in the first case.
Yeah.
So no, they don't just send you out and say, okay.
Like sheep among the wolves.
Right. They don't give you a name tag and say, okay, go for it. There's a lot of support because Chuck and I talk
Yeah.
a lot.
So what happens when somebody, suppose somebody was watching this program, they're interested or they read about it, how do they, if they call you to be a volunteer, what are the steps?
Well, I'm going to call them back and send them an email for some information for them to read, and we're going to have a long, lengthy discussion about how long they're going to spend every month to be an effective advocate for a child, and what those roles of the CASA are in the court and for the child, and make sure it's a good fit, because it needs to be a good fit. And a person really needs to think about, this is not working at the soup kitchen volunteer opportunity. It's something that engages a person's mind and their heart. They have to carry on to, get involved in some emotional material sometimes. And if they think this is a good fit, they will fill out an application with a short one-page autobiography, send it back to us, and we begin a screening process, which would include background checks and interviews with CASA staff.
What is the time commitment of a volunteer? Is it just as you have time available? I mean, it is a volunteer position, so what do you tell people as to what to expect?
Well, I tell them that it's a commitment to a child.
Yeah.
And we can look at average. Our volunteers drive thousands of miles to go see children that are placed all over Northeast Georgia, and sometimes, in the worst case scenario, even down in South Georgia. But I tell them it's 12 to 15 hours a month is what you can expect. Okay. Most of that, like Diane, she would spend 12 to 15 hours, but most of that she can plan. She can't, of course, decide when the court hearings are going to be. So, and a child will have about 5 court hearings the first year that they're in foster care. But when she goes to meet with the school, she does that. She plans that with the educational staff at the school. Yeah. And counselors and such as that.
I'm just curious, how did 2020 impact this program with not being able to have in-person court and with school being the way it is? What kind of impact did it have on the program?
Well, our program did exceptionally well. We have great leadership. We saw the writing on the wall that we needed to move quickly to make things available virtually. Yeah. So we went immediately to virtual trainings. Of course, we've seen court now is on the computer, is virtual. So it stopped some of the in-person things. But our CASAs have still maintained that they want to see those children. So we've got CASAs pulling up in front yards and saying, put the children out in the porch. Wow. I need to see them. Yeah. Our mission has stayed the same, and we have a great mission to keep kids centered, because there's so, in law and in these difficult situations, being able to maintain a singular focus on a child is a great relief, and that mission doesn't change.
Yeah, that's awesome that you guys were able to not skip a beat, despite all that was going on. So I wanted to just kind of close with, what are your needs? If someone wants to get involved, what are the different ways that they can get involved?
Well, first and foremost, to be an advocate. Yeah. But, sharing about the program, it may not be a good fit for someone, but that person may be great with social media. Yeah. So sharing about CASA on their, through their social media outlets, when we do fundraisers, to be a part of those, to allow their business to make contributions, being a financial contributor. Yeah. So that money goes to training more advocates.
So you can take donations.
We would love to take donations. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of other people in that line.
I'm sure.
But we would like it too.
Of course.
And we have the best mission, right?
Yes.
So, I think that these problems are part of tomorrow for our community. So investing in these children and making sure that they get all of the things they need while they're coming through these very hard years will decide who they are as adults. Yeah. So just sharing the CASA mission, contributing financially, and of course the greatest gift is for someone to give their time to a child to advocate for what they need.
Absolutely. Well, how can our viewers find out more? Where can they visit you online, phone number?
They can visit our website at www.northeastgacasa.org. They can call our office, which is 706-886-1098, or they can email me directly at chuck.taylor@northeastgacasa.org, and we would love to get back with them.
When I visited with Chuck and we were talking about the case that I was going to work on, I was astounded when I looked at his computer and I saw the number of children that just he is responsible for. I think everyone in the county was probably like me, and probably most everywhere. You know, there are children in need, but you don't have any idea how many.
Yeah.
So anyone that I would make a plea, if you feel like it's a fit for you, to step up, because there are many out there, and they need an advocate to listen to them and to tell the court how they feel.
We're going to clone you, Diane.
Well, again, if anybody's out there watching and feels compelled to get involved, Chuck listed several different ways, and obviously this is very meaningful and impactful personally for you both, and I'm sure all the other 70 plus advocates who are out there and volunteers. So again, thank you so much, and we will be right back.
Stay with us. More talk coming up on today's Chamber Chat on the Road. We'll be right back with Mary Beth and her guest.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Welcome back to Chamber Chat. It is no secret where our next stop is today. Chick-fil-A in Cornelia has undergone a lot of changes in 2020, and we're going to step inside the newly renovated dining room, meet the owner, and find out more. All right, we're here inside the Chick-fil-A Cornelia with the store owner, Chris Wright. Thank you so much for letting us in the new dining room today. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. This is something we had planned for 2020, and obviously things got a little crazy in 2020, so it got pushed. I really pushed to kind of get it done before we reopened. So we have made some changes in the dining room. It'll look new, sleek, cleaner look. We've removed some walls that allow us a little flexibility with seating. We've got some special touches. We're sitting at a community table, which is made by a prison ministry. And what they do is they find old abandoned homes and they take and refinish these tables. And, you know, they talk about people that felt, you know, unwanted and abandoned, take these unwanted and abandoned things and build them together. And so it's kind of a neat story that gives these people an opportunity to get back in the job force. And so that's great. So we've got new trash compactors coming in the dining room. Obviously we've got a new look, and we've got some other touches that are going to be coming that'll hopefully make it welcoming when people get back in the dining room.
So I like it's a more open concept. So for those who have been in here before, you recall there where we are seated used to be a wall.
Yes. Yep. So we've taken some of those walls out to give a little more flexibility in seating. We'll have a new permanent queuing system that'll make it a little bit more clear on traffic patterns. You know, just some touches to make the experience easier. We've taken away, we had a really big condiment stand here. We've taken that out of here. All those condiments going forward will come across the counter from us, but then we'll have some smaller condiment pods that'll allow you to refresh on a couple things, like maybe you need extra ketchup, that sort of thing. So all of it designed around trying to make the guest experience smoother, easier to manage in the dining room. And then give us some flexibility for some things. Mobile ordering, you know, right before this happened was picking up, where people were coming in to pick up orders. We're going to have a little station people can pick things up.
Well, I have to say, I mean, you guys have not skipped a beat. Even though your dining room has been closed, I'm sitting here looking out the window at the cars that continuously circle around the building, which I believe is nonstop for you guys all day long.
It has definitely changed the way we do business. And And it's the number one question I get, though, is like, when is the dining room reopening? And so the short answer on the dining room is, I don't have an exact date, but it's complicated. So the longer answer is, we want to be open. We want to serve guests. Our team really misses the interaction of the guest experience. It's hard when you're trying to get as many cars through to get people onto work and onto school to have a really good interaction with a guest. It's very brief, and so we want to get back in here. We just found new ways to do things. We said, all right, let's figure out, how do we get the drive-through? Can we put people outside? It's a little harder in the winter now with the temperatures dropping and inclement weather, but we are planning to add canopies, knock on wood, by the end of 2021. That'll make it a little easier for the team to be out there with fans and heaters and that sort of thing, protection from the elements. And then we added some other things. We added 11 new curbside parking order spaces that we didn't have before. And then one of those that was kind of one I was like, I really probably would not have been my first choice, was Chick-fil-A was testing an on-demand delivery service. Kind of, like a DoorDash style, but in-house. And so when I realized we're losing all this opportunity, and I really did not want to cut people's hours, I didn't want to lay anybody off. So we jumped in and kind of pushed our way onto this test, and it's been great. It certainly has some challenges because it is kind of a beta test. So sometimes the technology, it's great when it's working, and then when it's not so great. But it's been fantastic, an area that will provide a new avenue of growth for us. The team loves doing it. So it's, literally we're bringing Chick-fil-A, number one meal to your home, or your office, which is, I just never thought that day would be here.
So in addition to the dining room changes, there have been some menu additions. So I think we're going to talk about that. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come right back and talk about that.
Yeah, be great.
Ever wonder where the capital A in Chick-fil-A came from? It started with grade A, top quality chicken. But we believed everything, not just the food, should be grade A.
A is for above and beyond.
An extra level of care.
A game.
From caring for our guests and our community to cleanliness and safe service with a My Pleasure. A is for all the little things we do to bring you our best every day.
A little funky dance.
And that too.
Okay, we're back, and we have an amazing spread of some new looking things. So tell us what we got right here.
Yeah, absolutely. These are some items that have rolled out in the past year or so, some of them newer than others. I know one of your favorites, the Spicy Grilled Deluxe.
Yes.
Just rolled out. It's a limited time. It's here through April 24th.
I can't have that it be a limited time, though.
No, I thought the same thing.
Perhaps if there's such a demand for it, then it could be okay. We're going to cross our fingers for that.
Also get it. I don't know if a lot of people know we have a gluten-free bun that comes packaged so nobody touches it. It's an option for it. It's a boneless breast of chicken marinated with a blend of peppers. It's grilled for tender and spicy taste, and it's got a toasted multi-grain brioche bun with Colby Jack cheese, some green leaf lettuce, and then 2 slices of tomatoes. And then we've got our mac and cheese, which is my personal favorite in the restaurant. That rolled out this past, I guess it was maybe a little bit over a year ago, but it's great. It's a classic recipe. It's got blend of Parmesan, cheddar, Romano cheeses. We bake it in-house.
It's like that home style, like your grandmother used to make at reunions and Sundays. Yes.
It's been a huge hit with families, and obviously with my family for sure. And then we've got the chocolate fudge brownie.
Yes.
Decadent. It's interesting. We've had brownies in the past. This is actually our third version of the brownie over 20 years. But very good, decadent dessert treat with semi-sweet chocolate melted into the batter, and then you got some chocolate fudge chunks in there. Definitely rich for sure.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. And then lastly, this is a recent addition. This is our dipping sauces that you guys know from little packets that are in a little bit of a squeeze bottle. This is the 8-ounce version you get in the restaurant. Most commonly, this comes when you order a catering tray, but you could also just purchase these individually. They're also testing right now in the Southeast region. I think it's 5 states: Georgia, Florida, Alabama, I think Louisiana, Mississippi. And it's at Publix, Kroger, Walmart, Winn-Dixie. you can buy a 16-ounce version of this. The thing I love about the retail version is that the proceeds from it go directly to Chick-fil-A team member scholarships.
That's
And so,
awesome.
Really awesome, because one of my favorite things is the awarding of the scholarships that we do. And so we're probably about a month away from announcing the winners here. But I think in our restaurant we've given away $32,000 in scholarships the past 3 years. And it's just an exciting time. I mean, college is expensive.
Yeah.
This doesn't necessarily pay for everything. It's $2,500. You can get it for up to 4 years. There's also a $25,000 scholarship that they're entered into at the same time. And, you know, it's great. Chick-fil-A's given away. I mean, this is one of Truett, Kathy, our founders. His passion was growing young people and developing them and giving them opportunities.
That's awesome. Well, you guys have done some amazing stuff. We're so excited about what you're doing right now, what you've been doing, what is down the pipeline, you know, lots of things to look forward to, and we just really appreciate you letting us come in and take a sneak peek. Absolutely. And you guys need to stay tuned for the reveal of the dining room. In the meantime, swing through the drive-thru and try one of these menu items, and be on the lookout for these new sauces that will be available soon.
Yeah, they're available now. So,
all right. Chris, thank you so much.
Absolutely. We'll keep you around to enjoy this.
Perks of the job. All right. Thanks so much. We will be right back. Our final stop on today's road trip is to an amazing art gallery that you probably have not heard about until now. Bruce Beckner has been creating most of his adult life and holds a degree in art from Alfred University. Bruce and his wife Gloria relocated to Mount Airy from Orlando, and this opportunity opened the door for him to fully engage in his talent. He shares his time and gifts doing art therapy at Freedom Hill Women's Recovery Center in Demorest. From paintings, portraits, glow-in-the-dark masterpieces, let's take a visit inside Bruce Beckner's gallery and see why he is known as the Minister of the Arts. All right, we are inside the amazing art studio of Bruce Beckner. Bruce, thank you for letting us in. As you can see, there's so much to look at here. So I want to just get right to it. Tell us a little bit about your art.
Well, most of the pictures in here, all but I think 2, have fluorescent paint included in the painting. So I call them 3-phase, 3 different light sources, because you have the regular light, which we have now. I think later we're going to see some black light.
Yeah.
And then you turn all the lights off, and if you want to see your pictures when you're laying in bed or in a dark room, they glow in the dark too, and you'll be able to see all that.
How'd you come up with that? What made you interested in the glow-in-the-dark piece?
Well, being a teenager in the 60s, early 70s, fluorescent paint was a pretty cool thing, but it was all dragons and dungeons and skulls, and I thought I'd like to take that to a better level. I started playing around with it in the early 2000s, like about 2007. And then I was in Orlando at the time, and an art show came up honoring artists that were affected or influenced by Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol did iconic figures, the Kennedys, Marilyn Monroe, of course, his famous stuff. And I thought, maybe I can put the 2 together.
Yeah.
So I started doing some icons. Jimi Hendrix was one of them.
Yep.
And I've got 4 pieces in that show with the fluorescent. And I've just been developing it ever since. And some of the effects I've been coming up with lately are just amazing. So.
But there must be a special type of paint that you use to make it glow.
Well, it's acrylics, which is what I went to school with using instead of the oils, which when I went to college, that was old school. So we got to be contemporary. So acrylics. So I use acrylic paint and glow-in-the-dark stuff. It has taken some development of the techniques to not mess up the regular picture.
Yeah.
Because you don't want it to, that's what I thought would happen, and some of it you can't even tell.
You can't.
The frog one here doesn't change at all in this light, but when you put the black light on it, it looks
It's a totally different piece of work.
So it's really fun, and when I'm in here with the black light, I feel like a mad scientist.
Yeah.
Because it's all, they'll show it later, but it's all blue in here.
Yeah.
And it's really cool, but painting in black light is a really cool thing. And then you just turn the lights off and you can see what it looks like in the glow in the dark. So
So I'm seeing a lot of musicians, there's sports, there's religious figures. How do you come up with your subject?
Unless I have a commission piece or a specific subject that I need to get in a show, I'm just doing stuff from my perspective.
Yeah.
Things I liked, things that I was influenced by, people I admire, sports heroes, musicians. Glenn Campbell there, I was a big fan of his back in the 60s. You've got Johnny Cash over here. The Beatles, of course.
Yeah, I love that one.
So it's stuff I like, but I'd be more than happy to do stuff somebody else likes if they want to hire me.
So you do more than, you do portraits too.
Do a lot of portraits. About 30 years ago, after we moved to Florida from Connecticut, I started doing portraits of a lot of students, athletes and stuff. And my granddaughter was born 18 years ago, and did her, and I just love doing kids now.
Yeah.
So little kids, I just love doing them. So I do drawings. I can do paintings and stuff, but the drawings are very nice and intimate. And several times when we lived down in Florida, I would go back to a house that I'd done. Like one of them, I remember the kid was a soccer player.
Yeah.
When he was 18. I went back there 10 years later, and his portrait was still hanging on the
Really?
wall.
Oh, wow.
And I'm thinking to myself, I remember doing that
Yeah.
picture, so imagine what the parent is like. So.
Oh. So there is a little something special that you told me beforehand that is in each of these glow-in-the-dark paintings, a little sprinkle of something you
Okay.
can see. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we lived in Orlando for 17 years, Florida for almost 30. But when we moved to Orlando, we weren't like in the city, but we were on the outskirts. But we never, occasionally we'd see a firefly. Came up here in April of 19, and right away, go outside at night. I love going out at night and looking at stars. 'Cause stars are another thing we didn't see much
Yeah.
down in the city. And there's just these clusters of fireflies. So I've kind of added a little secret element to the pictures I've done up here, and added, and you can tell the ones, they have fireflies in them that
Yeah.
you really don't really even pick up until the black light hits them, and then
Yeah.
they pop, and then they glow in the dark afterwards. So.
Yeah. All right. So what you do other work out in the community.
Yes.
You volunteer some of your time and your talent with a
Right.
recovery center.
Right. Well, being retired, I wanted to do some ministry, some outreach ministry, and I went to the Freedom Hill fundraiser at the end of 2019. Met Becky now Easley, and they weren't. She was going through some things, and they needed an art therapist. I mentioned I'd never done it before.
Yeah.
But I volunteered to do that, and I've been doing it now for a year, and it's been, I guess they're blessed by it, but it blesses me even more. And just working with these ladies and helping them through their issues and stuff, and hopefully making a big difference in their life is just fantastic.
So for those who are watching who want to find out a little bit more, how can they get more information?
My website is becknerart.com, pretty simple. Right now, it's only going to be by appointment. It's not going to be drive-through stuff
Yeah.
at this point, but you can also call me at my number, 321-663-8356.
All right. Well, guys, if you guys are looking for a piece of art that will knock your socks off and glow in the dark, come visit Bruce at his website, Beckner Art. And we appreciate you, again, letting us in your studio and looking at all this. It's just amazing. It's super. It's super.
I'm hoping the community will embrace it and see some of my stuff hanging around in businesses and private residents. That's what we're hoping for.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and we will be right back.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed today's program and hope to see you again next time. Chamber Chat on the Road is a community service of Kinetic TV.